The other day, we showed you a video from longtime Five Finger Death Punch guitarist Jason Hook indicating he had left the band. We now have an official statement from the group and the identity of their new guitarist. Plus, Tommy Lee is going to leave the United States if Donald Trump is reelected, and Ted Nugent has a lot to say about Tommy Lee. Stick with us. Good evening and welcome to Rockfeed. Thanks so much for joining us. We got a lot to get to today for real. Please subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on updates like this about your favorite bands. We're going to get to listener calls for the first time here in just a minute. You can add a call and participate in the show by clicking the link in the description of this video. Before we get to the Five Finger Death Punch news, I want to quickly talk about Tommy Lee, who has indicated that he is going to be leaving the U.S. if the person that he doesn't want to win wins the election. It's that time of the year every 4 years where for some reason celebrities are obsessed with talking about leaving the country if their chosen overlord politician doesn't get elected. People on both sides say it. It always sounds stupid when people say it because they never follow through on it. And so here is Tommy Lee. He was speaking with the UK's The Big Issue in an interview, and he says, "Dude, I swear to God, if that happens, then I'm going to go over and visit the UK. I'm out of here. I'm going back to my motherland, going back to Greece and get a house there over on the islands. The thing that stings the most is that I feel like we're embarrassing. I feel like people in Europe and the rest of the world look at America and think, what the F are you guys doing over there? Stop voting for celebrities and get someone real to run the country." I love that. Tommy Lee, definitely entitled to his opinions. I could care less who anybody votes for, 100%. I just think it's always silly. And people do this on both sides, on the right, on the left. They always say they're going to move when they don't like who gets elected for office, and they never do it. They almost never actually move. And it's such a dumb thing to say because everyone waits and they're like, okay, are you actually going to move? Like Miley Cyrus, she said she was going to move back in like 2015. And she actually came out later and talked about why she didn't actually move. Here it is back in 2016. She says, "Honestly, F this S. I am moving if this is my president. I don't say things I don't mean." And she said in an interview, "I'm not effing," this is, years later, she never moved. She says, "I'm not effing leaving the country. That's some ignorant shit. That's dumb because that's me abandoning my country." This is why people need to stop saying this stuff. There's numerous examples of people saying they're going to leave the country. Just say that you can't stand the politician. That's fine. Just say you hate them. Nothing wrong with that. You don't have to like any politician. In fact, you probably shouldn't really like any politician by the nature of the job. So anyways, Tommy Lee says that. And so now you have good old-fashioned cat scratch fever Ted Nugent addressing Tommy Lee, and he doesn't like his political views. Ted Nugent is obviously very conservative. He's really out there with some of his views. And Tommy Lee, I don't think Tommy Lee's far left or anything. He just really doesn't like Trump. So you've got these people with two different points of views. And so Ted Nugent recently apparently filmed an episode of Rock and Roll Road Trip with Sammy Hagar, and he talked about that experience on Blunt Force Truth. And he says Sammy Hagar, the host of the show, just came out and we shot the footage for Rock and Roll Road Trip. The producers wouldn't let him near me, even though he and I go way back. We're dear friends. The thought was I was dangerous and I'd come out with a machine gun or slaughter an innocent fan on television. This is stupidity. I said, so your producers are afraid of me, but they did a show with Tommy Lee, who's a convicted felon, domestic violence, heroin addict? They're okay with that guy, but not okay with the Ted Nugent Camp for Kids charity teaching kids to be clean and sober. I said, Sammy, cold cock those sons of bitches and let's go out and do the show. So finally, they dangerously acquiesced, and we did the #1 Sammy Hagar Rock and Roll Road Trip show. And what do you think about his opinion on Tommy Lee in the comments? Do you agree with Tommy? Do you think it's fine if people say they're going to move out of the country? Do you plan to move out of the country if your chosen politician doesn't get elected? Let me know in the comments. And now we need to talk about Five Finger Death Punch, who have confirmed the departure of Jason Hook officially. We knew this was coming for quite some time, given the fact that Jason Hook had seemingly, confirmed the news, said he couldn't talk about it. He was sort of under a gag order because it seemed like they were negotiating what needed to go on to a mutually agreed upon statement coming out and being released. And so Five Finger Death Punch has released a very nice statement, very respectful of Jason Hook, that it does seem they mutually agreed upon. So Jason Hook is out, and they have confirmed that their new guitarist is a gentleman by the name of Andy James. He's a very popular YouTuber, and most importantly, I want to make this very clear to those of you out there who think that I've seen people saying things that are disparaging and very negative, that Jason Hook, he was the only talented member of the band and now he's gone. So first of all the guys in Five Finger Death Punch are legitimately talented. You can not like them if you think they're toxic masculinity or whatever it is that people say they're against them for. But what you cannot say is that they are talented. Number one, they're actually all very talented musicians. Number two, to produce a successful machine, a business that is a band, to get to that level, you don't get there by being stupid. Metallica's not stupid. If they seem like they're just, party guys and, it was easy, we make it look easy. It's not easy. It's not actually easy. There's somebody in the band or multiple people in the band behind the scenes that are vision driven, that know about brand building, that know about building a business. It is not an easy thing to do. So you've got this new member of the band, Andy James, and if you watch his videos on YouTube, the guy is very clearly a musical virtuoso. He's very clearly, he's got like spider fingers or something, because he can play very fast. And he's complimentary of the Five Finger Death Punch sound. He has that sort of neon feel, for lack of a better term, of those guitar solos, that sort of Las Vegas, Saturday night party vibe that I feel the band brings to their music. So Five Finger Death Punch is going to move on. They're still going to be successful. It's a difficult thing to have a band and everybody be a cohesive thing for quite some time. And that doesn't mean that they had a falling out or anything. In general, things happen in people's lives, and not everybody wants to be a touring musician forever. That is a grueling lifestyle. So this is the official press release. If you've never seen a real press release from a band, this is what it looks like. It says Five Finger Death Punch officially confirms lineup change. Las Vegas, Nevada, October 13th, amidst the recent release of their greatest hits compilation, Decade of Destruction Volume 2, Five Finger Death Punch confirms it has parted ways with guitarist Jason Hook back in February 2020 during the band's sold-out European tour. After his recovery from emergency gallbladder surgery at the end of last year, Jason Hook had to leave midway from the band's tour in Europe to address further complications. He says, "I've had the pleasure of meeting so many of you in person. Thank you for the endless stories of how our music has touched your heart in some way. But the best part of being on tour the last 12 years by far has been playing my guitar and seeing the joy on your faces every night. I miss that more than anything. As far as the reason I'm leaving, well, there really isn't just one. I've been in bands my entire life, and I feel like I've done all the good that I can here. It's time to pass the baton and move on to new challenges," according to Jason Hook. A very, very classy statement from the band. It says, Five Finger Death Punch has released 8 studio albums and 2 greatest hits compilations in 13 years and toured relentlessly in between records. They are often called the hardest working band in the industry. That's definitely true. With very little personal time left outside of the band, at Jason's suggestion, all parties came to a mutual agreement that it's best if he steps away from his rigorous band duties altogether. Consequently, Jason handed over the torch to the band's new lead guitarist, renowned British virtuoso, I said it, virtuoso, I called it, Andy James, who is also featured on their song Broken World, one of the 5 previously unreleased tracks on Decade of Destruction Volume 2. From Zoltan Bathory, the guitarist of the band, Jason is an incredible guitar player, so we had to find someone on the absolute top of their game. Someone like Andy James, who was already a well-known virtuoso and had the chops to step into Jason's shoes. Andy completed our European tour with us back in February, so we're already tried by fire. We instantly clicked both musically and personally, so he was the obvious choice. We even have the same birthday. Some things are just meant to be. I congratulated Jason on his recent wedding, and I hope he finds peace and happiness. As for us, I'm really excited with working with Andy, and I just can't wait for this COVID madness to be over so we can get back out on the road, vocalist Ivan Moody said. Five Finger Death Punch again has their new album, their new compilation record, Decade of Destruction Volume 2, out now everywhere. And again, their album F8 or Fate was released earlier this year. It's got 2 number 1 hits so far, Inside Out and A Little Bit Off. And they've got a new music video for Living the Dream, which is releasing this week, and it looks insane. So be looking for that, and it'll probably have an official introduction from Andy James. Let's go to listener calls now. We've got people who have left messages. If you'd like to leave a message and have a question for me here on the show, you can do so by clicking the link in the description. So the first caller is Ben from Texas. He has a question about the membership changes in Five Finger Death Punch.
Hey Brian, Ben from Texas here. I just had a couple things I wanted to say. First off, I think Andy James is a great replacement for Jason Hook. You know, no matter what's going on between the medical thing, and if they're having problems between each other, I think that Andy James will be a great fit, like you said as well. However, I did have a question for you. Do you think now that Jason Hook is no longer in the band, and Jeremy Spencer, you know, who has his recently started new band as well, do you think they could possibly collaborate, or, you know, maybe even have Jason Hook become part of Jeremy's new band? What are your thoughts on that? Be totally awesome if you could respond.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that. So I don't know if there are personal issues between the members in Five Finger Death Punch. I do think it's easy to get burnt out on the road, particularly if you got a nice bank account and you don't want to tour relentlessly and you're having health problems and stuff like that. I could totally see Jeremy Spencer and Jason Hook connecting in the future, whether it is with Psychosexual or any other projects, but it remains to be seen. I also do know that Jeremy Spencer has been pretty vocal about he not being interested in touring either. So I imagine that if it is a project, I would imagine it would be studio only and not a relentless touring project. But anything is possible, and Jason Hook does say he has some very exciting projects in the works, so we wish him all the best. We've got Rory from Australia. That's pretty cool that people listen from that far away, and he's got a question about Motley Crue.
G'day, mate. I live in Melbourne, Australia, and I bought tickets to fly over to see Motley Crue and Poison, etc. And I spent 8,000 Aussie dollars to buy a guitar and meet Nicky, who I have a man crush with. Question: how realistic do you think the tour next year will go ahead? I didn't take the refund for the guitar, so I have $8,000 outstanding. And if the concert goes ahead but I can't fly there, well, then I've done my $8,000, or I still get the guitar minus the experience of meeting Nicky, etc. So what do you think the realistic chances are of the actual tour going ahead? Thanks, dude.
Rory, thank you so much. And I will say this. I think that the chances are decent. I think they're pretty good. There's a few reasons why. You've got NFL teams starting to return to fans to their stadiums. You've got NASCAR. They've had fans in the stadium. The NBA, as recently as this week, has said they are adamant that they want to have fans back in the arenas. There are a lot of people that are organizing that want to get crowds back in the stands. And many of these people in the past had said, okay, well, we're not going to do crowds. And they were very on board with it before, but now they're actively pushing against it. You've got the closest, we're very close, whether it's before the election, whether it's after the election here in the U.S., we're very close to getting vaccines distributed, probably realistically early next year. So that is a good 5-6 months of distribution out there and really protecting against the spread of the virus. So I think that the chances are high that you could actually do that. And so I would also suggest maybe reaching out to Nicky's publicist, maybe, and connecting that way, or his record label or something. And, you know, whenever you can come to the States, or whenever Motley Crue may come over there, if they do, I would suggest that, you know, sometimes some of these artists are really, really cool and can do things like that. I don't know Nicky, and so I could see maybe them doing that for their fans. I have no doubt that they love their fans. So best of luck to you, Rory, and thank you so much for listening to the show. And again, if you guys want to send questions in, you can do that by dropping them at the comment or the link in the description, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on Rock Feed. Again, I will see you all very soon. please hit that subscribe button with notifications on so you don't miss out on breaking news and updates.